Is this thing on?
Is this thing on? Are we here? Yes, we are here. Hello, my name is Dave. We have Eric, our founder from Mobile Must Have today. Welcome to our live stream. Today's topic, we're going to be talking about the Icotek Fittings and Cable Management System that we have just launched on our store. And I
Yeah,
know
more
Eric is.
more specifically, how to bring wires down from the outside to the inside.
Yes,
Forget
exactly.
about the product. That's something customers drive themselves crazy about. Like, how do I get wires in without having a bunch of leaks?
And I would say probably, consistently one of the biggest stress points that we've seen from the very beginning of working together here at Mobile Must Have, in the sense that I don't think it's been a concern of anybody that's bought an RV or anything where you need to drill from the outside to the inside. So I'm glad we're solving the problem.
Yeah, I mean, it makes it. I mean, look, how many people drill holes in the roof of their house? Probably not that many. It's sort of a
Yeah.
specialty. And you get into these RVs and there's like a bunch of wallpaper and cardboard and insulation, and you sort of know that if you introduce water into them, there could be problems ahead. They're not great with water.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Water finds a way to get pretty much anywhere. I've spent enough time offshore on sailboats and worn some of the best foul weather gear you can imagine from all of the carriers, the manufacturers you'd imagine. You still get wet at the end of the day. Water finds a way.
Yeah. And
So,
unfortunately, RVs they kind of need to be light. It's sort of what helps them go down the road and meet their weight requirements. And if you add water to them, they are not light anymore. Our buddy Andy from our team recently experienced that, because it's nothing to do with anything that we sell, but he actually had a delamination issue on one of his RVs that meant that there was like a wall separation, and like water
oh
got into
boy.
got into the frame of the vehicle that was under warranty, and they covered it. But yeah, you're driving along and then all of a sudden you're 7,000 pounds heavier than you think you are. It's not good.
Yeah, water's heavy. Anyone who's ever had to carry a 5 gallon jug or a 10-gallon jug of water, it gets heavy quick.
Yeah, absolutely. So
So
for me, it was a scary thing. I in 2015, I bit the bullet to hit the road, and like a crazy person, went straight for a 45-foot RV that was pretty pricey, and just said, I'm going to go hit the road. And one of the first things I did was pay a installer to install a satellite dish and a roof antenna so that I could get some mobile internet back in 2015. And I kind of was impressed with the way they did the wiring, like inside, to get inside the slides and to kind of make it what I requested. They never really went up on the roof for probably like 3 months.
well, I mean, it's pretty high up there, and
Yeah.
I'm afraid of heights. I'm pretty sure you are too.
Well,
Probably not. Probably less so these days, but since you've done
this
it
was
all the
a
time.
this was a well-known installer who had installed a roof antenna, who did all the installs for. I know he no longer works there, so I'm not gonna mention his name, but for motorhome specialists in Texas, a really big RV outfitter. Kind of their claim to fame is the largest RV dealership in the world, and
Is
I
Yeah, I was gonna
trusted
say,
their guy.
is that the dealer where they give you a golf cart to drive around in
Yeah,
because the parking lot's so big?
yeah, you get a golf cart, a set of keys, and come back by 5 o'clock, and good luck, and don't get lost. And that's sort of their pitch. They probably gotten a little bit more hands on, but they're a good place if you want to see as many choices as possible. Not an intimate sales experience.
Do they at least have a GPS like on the golf cart so they can come find you if you're not back
Right.
by 5 o'clock? Or?
Probably. I spent so much time there. We did a video for them on our blog and at liveandlight.net, and it generated a bunch of sales for them. And we love them up down there. They've been great. So we came back and bought another RV in 2021, which is our current RV. So but it's just a different approach. It's big inventory and no
Go
pushy
explore.
salespeople. Yeah, go do your thing. So anyway, that installer that's no longer there anymore ran a wire down from the roof. And when I went up there and looked at it, basically he drilled a hole down, which went into a cabinet below in the RV. He screwed the cable down against the roof, and then he just poured Dicor all over it. Dicor is this self-leveling sealant, which I can grab in a minute. We sell it. It's an amazing product. It's like, think of it like a silicone or a caulk that never really hardens and levels and flattens itself to a flat level surface. So self-leveling Dicor is designed to be used on a roof. And one of its benefits is that it sort of self-heals and adapts and does well in very extreme temperature changes. So to that installer's credit, it never leaked. But I just was kind of dumbfounded by this: drill a hole down, pour some goop on it, buy. That was the strategy. So from that moment on, I was like, first off, there has to be a better way. Like, what if I had 2 cables or 3 cables or 4 cables? Like, because a bundle of cables is definitely not going to waterproof because there's space in between them.
Yeah.
And I am a techie guy who's changing stuff all the time, and I don't want to go up there with a spatula, or I mean, technically it's a putty knife, and like get rid of this disgusting stuff, which anyone who's ever worked with Dicor, if you step in it, it's like, just throw out those shoes. Like, the only thing that gets rid of it is mineral spirits or like paint thinner. And it's just a hostile product. Like, any noob who's ever worked with it gets it on something, and then you learn
That's
never to
forever
touch
their
it
work
again.
shirt. Yeah,
Yes, just don't even. It's gone. So, um, so I was looking for years for a better product. That's really, what it came down to.
So, big reveal. Do we have some Icotek stuff we can show
Yeah,
here?
absolutely. So, webcams are a little
Here,
weird, but
I'll make you the feature presenter here. Let's see if that works. Oops, I'm the feature
well,
presenter. Let's
no,
go
it's all
this
right.
way. There
There
we
we
go.
go. So what Icotek essentially did, this company in Germany, giving you some backstory, Icotek is a company that makes cable entry solutions for like big manufacturing. Like, you go into like, an automotive manufacturing plant, and you're going to find Icotek products all over the place, because most of the products, or the machines, or the automation tools, or the CNC, or the wet saws, or whatever, are custom built. So a lot of the wiring and the cables, it's not mass produced stuff. So Icotek sort of cut their teeth in a very high end engineering industry that had very high and strict tolerances for ensuring that things were waterproof, IP rated for dust entry, water entry, all of these things. And I stumbled upon their products in 2016, 2017, but I quickly kind of figured out that unless you were a giant manufacturing company who had like a sales rep coming to your big factory every weekend, it was pretty hard to get these things. So I figured out, because we own businesses, we've got an electrical wholesale account, and found a wholesaler and picked up some parts and started testing the stuff. And I've been kind of Easter egg featuring it in videos for years now. It's the main way that I enter all cables into all the installs I do, because it's modular and because it's very future proof. So to kind of give you the big reveal of what Icotek looks like, this is an Icotek product that I've kind of put together as a sample. And every Icotek product comes with a frame or a housing. So we'll start there. And then there are grommets, or small inserts, that go into each of the slots inside of those housings. And each grommet is defined by the size wire that you're going to put through it, and then the density of wires. So you can have up to 4 wires in any kind of standard grommet that we typically sell.
Okay.
These are called KT series grommets for geeks that care. And I've actually, this one's featuring a different style grommet, but it doesn't really matter. The only difference is the grommets are a little thicker that we sell at MMH than what you see here, because it's just a demo. And that additional thickness that you see there gives you just a little extra added water protection that we
Yep.
like to use. KT series grommets work really well. So the claim to fame here is, see how they're split right there? So what that means is that you don't have to have the ends missing off the cables when you do an install like this. So you can take a roof antenna, or something, and go ahead and insert it while it's got the nice end on the end of it, and not mess with trying to figure out how to do cable terminations, solar,
Nice.
just about anything. And then once you have the wires through the grommet, you simply take that and then you insert it. There's a 3-slot housing. Once the wires are through it, you just insert that in, boom, it goes right in. And then you've got a locking cap that screws tight and locks everything to be watertight. Now,
I was going to
there's
say, and it looks like it compresses it a little bit there, so it sort of
exactly,
helps it seal off. That's pretty interesting.
exactly. Now, these frames come in rectangle, 1 slot, 2 slot, 3 slot, really up to 5 slot. We can get them in 10+ slots. So if a customer's like, I really want to go bananas, we have all that stuff. It's not yet on our store yet. We went up to 5 slot with our initial launch because that's 20 cables. That's more than enough for the average person. But for you Erics out there, we can get you up to, if you do a 10 slot, I guess that'd be 40 cables. I mean, you can obviously do something crazy like this, which is build a box and then have multiple products on that box to go as crazy as you want to.
Is that going to go like on the next Tesla space shuttle or something?
This is the trade show box, because it's so hard to explain to people. I'm like, I'm just gonna put every option in a box and lug it around with me.
One box to rule the world.
Yeah. So these housings come in rectangle, right? Round. This is a round one with a 4-slot. Round is very nice because it's a standard hole saw opening. So for the 4-slot, for example, that's a 2.5-inch hole that you would drill inside of a mounting box that you would use to usually install one of these. Or right angle. This is a right angle. So as you can see there's 4 slots there, but then the cables actually drop down through here.
Okay.
So that gives you a little bit of added flexibility. So for someone who didn't want to install a box, like a roof box like this is just an empty box that you can pick up. We can send links. This is just an Amazon box that we've used quite a bit of, made out of ABS is a good material for if you're looking at boxes, because it's highly UV resistant and it does well with temperature changes. It's kind of well known in the automotive industry. But with something like this, you could technically, I'd recommend grabbing, I didn't put one right here, but like a ground plane that we sell, like an 8-inch ground plane. You can actually drill a hole in one of our little 8-inch ground planes and screw this to the ground plane. And it comes with a nice gasket seal here that will seal it all down. So if you were going to use nuts and bolts to kind of secure this up to the ground plane, and then you could just secure the entire ground plane down to the roof. And that would be a way you could install it without a roof box. The 90 degrees, what I like about 90 is, if you see here, that's an example of what it would look like on a roof. It's just mounted flat down. So that's an option. But then if you look here, these are what it would look like if you mounted it on the side of a box with the cables coming out the bottom.
Yeah, so then there's almost no chance for water to find its way back in at that point.
Yeah, I mean these are technically rated IP54, which I think is vastly underrated for what they actually are. They perform much more like IP67, meaning like almost submersible. But like I said, Icotek's highly conservative. It's like German company, they're just really kind of over promising and under deliver, over deliver, under promise kind of thing. And
now I'm going to ask, what does IP rating mean? Because
we can send a chart, but
I think it's ingress protection, but
yes, and there's 2 numbers, the first and the second, that have to do with different types of ingress protections. One is kind of like your material, and one's your I'll send you a chart. It's kind of there's two numbers, the 5
We'll
and the
post, yeah,
7
we'll
don't
post it
matter.
as a
Yeah,
pinned comment afterwards on the YouTube channel for sure.
yeah. But for those who are like, oh, IP54 is not enough, if you were installing in a box, you could use a 90-degree and face down. And the
Yep.
housings themselves are the 68, so very, very high ratings. But the
Got it.
Grommets, if you go into multiple cable density like this, that's where you get to 54. If you're really like, oh, I just need to have 60 something, which I've tested, it doesn't really matter. But if you go with a single hole grommet, these are IP68s as well.
Okay.
So,
So,
but the housings all
and
get you covered to essentially, I don't want to use the word waterproof because it's dangerous, but I've had these out there for a very long time and they don't really have much of any issues.
yeah, I was going to say for all intents and purposes, this isn't a product that we just found and you picked off the shelf. This is something you've actually tested for years at this point, right?
Yeah, I mean that's
Think-
this stuff like this. Like, so when, let's say you're in a freezing situation, and then the product fails because it's not designed to be in that type of environment, or you ultraviolet light, and you just have problems with it over time. Now, I'm not going to say these grommets are bulletproof. They do have chemical resistant properties and quite a few things to make them work very well. I've never replaced a grommet, but and there's miles and miles of spec sheets on these. They're used in the food service industry. You can get special blue ones that are food grade and a million different things. Um, yeah, 3+ years. I've had them on multiple installs. We just did an install for Mike Lundland from
Yep.
RVLifestyle.com featuring these. And there's some pictures of that. If you hop over to mobilemusthave.com and right on the homepage, you'll see an Icotek. You can click on that and it'll bring you to a lander that not only lets you see what packages there are, but also some photos and how the installs work. We kind of put together like a step-by-step guide for how it all works.
Got it. Got it. Okay. So I guess the next question would be for a lot of our customers, what would be a recommended sort of go-to? Because it seems like there's this is one of those situations where there's a lot of variables in terms of the types of sort of grommets you could use, the types of boxes you could use, the types of installs you could use, sort of infinitely flexible, which gets us to that place of you know what would you
Mm-hmm.
use in your situation? And I can respect the fact that the answer is going to be it depends, but
Well, it's a good
you
point. I
know,
mean, I think one of the only thing Icotek does badly is they have about 40,000 SKUs, and for you to figure out what you need is practically rocket science. Like I spent over a year just being like, how does this all work? And not that it needed to take a year, but we were dealing directly with the manufacturer and didn't necessarily have a sales rep, and we set ourselves up as a direct North American distributor so we can really help other dealers and other folks do this effectively as it grows. So it took longer, but for the average customer, to keep it simple, we put together bundles that are our most popular products, and we categorize them based on what our customers are using them for. So most of our customers will have a 5-in-1 roof antenna, which is usually like single Cat 4, like our essential or full timer bundle. They'll have a 7-in-1 antenna. That would be for our Road Warriors and our Speed Demons. That's if you have
yep,
single 5G or
dual,
dual 4G. And then for our Ultimate Road Warrior dual 5G customers on the BR2, you have an 11-in-1 antenna on the roof. So if you hop over to that homepage and you click on the cable management, which is right on the homepage, but it's also on the main internet navigation. It's right there. It'll say cable management solutions or cable entry solutions. You'll see those bundles broken out that way, and then in there you can pick the housing that you like, and then it's going to know based on what what setup you have, what grommets to put in for you automatically. And we
oh,
base all of
nice,
our bundles on a 4 system. So this is a good example. This would be an 11-in-1 antenna. So you get 4 cellular, another 4 cellular, 2 Wi-Fi, your GPS,
yep,
and a blank. So the blank is there for if you want to add a WeBoost booster, if you want to add Starlink. There's a couple different things that you can do with that. And there is an option where you can replace the blank or add to the blank for different things.
Okay. Okay.
So
So in other words, you could buy, and like, let's say you just had a single the single 4G modem with only 2 cables plus the GPS plus maybe the Wi-Fi. You could expand. You could set it up in such a way that you could expand over time.
yeah, absolutely. And if you had a box, like for instance, this is a small box. It's because I'm a geek and I got measuring things everywhere. It's about 7 by 6 by 4. It's a nice little waterproof box. You know, you could have one on one side, and then you can put something else on the other side. This one wouldn't be the one that I would do. I would do a. I'll show you the one that is very popular. So I'll grab right here. Unless they took my last
For
one.
anybody that thought Eric's set was virtual, that's a pretty good example of why it's not.
Yeah,
That's his actual workshop.
it's very much. Yes, so it's a production facility. So this 4x4 is really popular because it lets you put it on a small side face, and this is one of the options in the bundle. It's a great little split
Could you
housing.
fit 2 of those on the long side of that thing too?
Yeah, you absolutely could. In a
Yeah.
7-inch box, it's very, very tight density, so you can put 2 on one of these boxes.
Yeah.
The company that makes this on Amazon is actually called Mackerel, like the fish. So, but if you just type in waterproof junction box, there's hundreds of them. Mackerel seems to be a pretty decent quality box. Or this box, which is made by Cantex, this is massive. This is a 12 by 12 by 6-inch box. They sell these at Home Depot. And you can pick that up in 4x4 smaller sizes. Home Depot's got a pretty decent assortment. That's like a $65 box but it's
is
it's
that
a
where
good
Saki
box.
sleeps on the in the
pretty
RV?
much.
Or?
I could totally turn this into a cat box. But that's a good point. So why do we ever even feature a box this massive? So if you're in a Class A with has like Girard awnings and rails on the side of it, this will actually allow you to put your roof antenna on top of the box, and then you can go down or out the side with Icotek depending on your installation use case, and that'll keep your cellular antenna up above your roof rails for better performance. So for me, I have a box just like this. My antenna is mounted on the top of the box without an Icotek. It just goes straight into the box on the lid, and then the Icotek goes out the side, and then another Icotek is on the front cap of my RV. So there's rails on the side, but there's also a lip on the very front of the RV, and I go into the front cap on the horizontal side of the front cap. After I start describing this, I should have thought of bringing up a picture of it. I'm sure I can grab it. That allows me to then go drop, and this is an Integra coach, like pretty much all of the Integra coach diesel pushers now have a front cap that's lifted above the roof. So there's this space on the front that you can basically drill a hole in, put an Icotek, and then fish wires directly down into the cabinets right above your driver's seat. It's a really easy way to get wires in. Works with Newmars and a couple others as well.
Well, and anyone that's ever had a roof rack on any of their cars that didn't have a fairing or something to help with the wind noise, I mean, if you didn't have that cap on the front, I would imagine driving down the road would be pretty noisy.
Yeah,
although with all the insulation, maybe not, but
the older style caps just met right flat to the roof. The new ones go up above, and essentially it's trying to do is it's trying to hide the ability for you to see the air conditioners and stuff, and just makes it look sleeker. And then it also has an awning integration into the side, so your awnings are built into those rails. So it's a sleeker look on a higher end bus, but it means that if you mount anything to the roof, you're kind of inside this little metal cage dip that can impact your performance. We've
Got
had
it.
plenty of customers just install antennas in there, and they're fine. But if you want to be super high end, go put it on a box.
Yep. Okay. Okay. Well,
So let me
obviously,
give you just this is like the number one question is what is the most popular sizes and for what,
perfect.
right?
That's great.
So if you have a roof antenna from us, Parsec, Mobile Mark, uh, Pointing, um, Peplink, any of those antennas, the cellular and the Wi-Fi antennas, which are the bulk of the antennas, are 5
Yep.
millimeters. So if
Okay.
you're looking at any of our grommets and you want to do a special build and you don't want to buy a bundle, 5 millimeters. So depending on how many cables you have, you want a 5 millimeter cable for that. The Starlink fixed mount high performance, hope I don't screw this up, Starlink fixed mount high performance that we sell. That is a big fat Cat 7 cable that is 8 millimeters in diameter. So you get the 8 millimeter if you've got the Starlink dish. The standard Starlink Roam cable, 7 millimeters. The WeBoost boosters, which use coax cable, 7 millimeters. And anything I forgot to mention, email us and I'll probably know what it is because I live with digital calipers all the time and test out everything and measure it and sort of know what size most of the stuff out there is. We've tested it all. Solar, 10 gauge standard solar wire, which is like the standard wire that you see in almost any solar, 7 millimeters.
Got it. Okay.
So
Okay.
so if you're, you can get a multi insert here with 7 millimeter. It's going to look more like this, and then your solar can pop in, and you can incorporate that with the internet or do it separate, depending on how big your solar install is. If you're doing over 50 volts on your solar, put it in a separate housing so it doesn't mess with your cell signal.
That was going to be my next question. Is there any concern there with electrical interference? But it would.
Minor.
Okay.
The cable that we use, the LMR like 240, that's or 200 205, depends on which antenna, but it's got a lot of shielding in it, so it's
Yeah.
pretty decent. But if your voltage I've seen solar installs where the voltage is like 250 volts, and I'm like, there's a lot going on in that level of voltage where you may want to just move it off to the side to something else.
Give it a little separation and make it a little easier. Yeah, I can see that.
But like for me, the fact that you can just swap these grommets out means that I've done one box install or one kind of cable entry install on most of my RVs. And then as I swap stuff out, I improve it, I change it, I upgrade it. None of that stuff changes. I just unscrew the top of these housings, change out the grommets to make it whatever I need, and I'm back off to the races. And the housings usually are good for life, so I'm really just changing out the grommets to whatever I need. And for me, this probably won't apply to most people, but for me, I love that they also sell these. That's a little blank insert.
Oh, okay.
So it's like if you wanted to get higher cable density because you're just like, I don't know, I might add a second cell antenna later. You can pick up the little blank inserts and fill up whatever holes you're not using. And like if you only use 2 for Wi-Fi and you had 2 blanks there for something later, you can just plug them. And those are on our store too. But it's just sort of they've kind of thought of everything.
So sort of to go without saying there, you wouldn't want to necessarily drive down the road with one of those, like let's say that 4 box of or 4 through thing of cables with only 3 of them populated. That
Right.
sort of is inviting water to come in a little
Yeah.
bit easier than it
If you
would
can see
otherwise.
through it, it's probably not going to be waterproof. Yeah.
Yeah, no.
But
Other words.
But then not only do they sell the plugs like this, you don't have to go get a grommet. They sell the blanks, so you could just get a blank as well.
Yeah.
swap them out. And most folks who kind of play around with this stuff and are tinkering end up with a little basket of grommets that you can use to sort of swap out and swap in as your projects kind of evolve and you figure out what works best for you.
Well, I don't want you to get mad at me, boss, but we did secure a special deal for anybody that's actually watching this live stream for the next 24 hours. I managed to get everybody 20% off Icotek products with a special code. And I'm going to put the comment up.
He's not kidding. I didn't know about that. I saw that going through while I was prepping for the live stream. I was like, oh, all right, cool. That is one of the benefits of us. You know, they were gracious enough to co-sponsor that with us to give us some benefits for customers.
I had another banner saved here, but hold on one sec. I will put it up as an actual banner as well on the scroll. Give me 1 second. What else do we? What? I mean, I know you're really excited about this product for sure.
So here's something I've never talked about with Icotek, but we do sell. I kind of didn't want to overwhelm people with too much stuff, but I'll show you what it is. Let me see if I can grab a cable. All right, so here's a cable, just an Ethernet cable. And Icotek sells housings for interior mount applications as well. So as you can see there's a round unit, and it's got brushes there that kind of just hide the cable. So if you're putting one cable through, two cables, three cables, whatever, you've got a really nice finished, good looking hole there that you can manage. And these are split frames, meaning that if you technically have wires going through something already, you could put the housing around it and then slide it in.
Oh wow! Okay, so you wouldn't have to disconnect everything.
Not necessarily. Now you do have to the hole would have to be a standard size hole. But what I like about their products with these interior mounts, I'll try to grab one to explain it, but they have like a flexible ring around them to ensure that they kind of hold themselves in. You can sort of see here, see these springs?
Yep.
So, you know, if the hole's a little too big or a little too small, I found that these are very forgiving and just snap themselves in without you having to use the locking ring, which is a nice touch because sometimes you can't get to the other side of the cabinet easily, or it's inside of a double-walled cabinet and you just need it to hold itself in. This is the smaller size, but then this one's so small, I'm not sure how easy it'll be, but you can see they just come apart, so you can technically go right around the cable. So it's just a nice touch. You know, I was always using those Home Depot desk grommets that you'd like drop in to cover wires, and they work
the plastic
fine.
Ones.
But like you do a 2-inch hole, and they don't really fit in the 2-inch hole. They're a little too loose. They fall out. So then I'm like taping electrical tape around them to get them to be a little thicker before I shove them in, and it's fine. It's just more work, and this is just a much nicer looking finish, especially if you only run one wire through it, or 2 or 3 or 4. It kind of like expands and just looks really nice. So these interior options, I think, will be really popular for van lifers and folks that are like building their kit, or people who are like doing an interior desk remodel or something. You just want stuff to look a little bit nicer with a nicer fit and finish. The interior models are great, and these are round or they come in rectangle as well. So you can kind of decide up to 147 millimeters. I've been living in millimeter land for a while. I'm not exactly sure how many inches that is, but 4.5, I guess, somewhere around there, 4 to 5 inches, something like that. So
yeah, I always remembered 2.5 centimeters, which would be 25 millimeters, right?
5.7. I wasn't even close. Yeah, 147.
I meant to an inch, but
you were closer than me, I think.
The crazy things we remember. So, I mean, we do have a couple comments here. I just want to highlight Jim Belletti, who I totally recognize because he's been through setup and training, and I've helped him a bunch. He loved the video on the Icotek product, and Steve sent a smiley face, which is nice too.
Yeah,
Um,
thank you.
so thank you both for tuning in and watching. I hope you get to be able to use the discount, the exclusive little secret discount code. We want to leave that as an incentive for people to come and watch this live. I know a lot of people come and try and will watch it afterwards in the first 24 hours. So the code is good for the next 24 hours. It does not stack, only because that would require me to hire a programmer to do that part of the discount code thing, and we didn't have enough time to pull that off. But
Yeah,
uh, but it
it's a
is
good.
20% on its own. But it's pretty healthy discount on a nice little product. So I think that's pretty cool.
Yeah, I mean, these aren't going to break the bank, and they're not going to, put my kids through college. That's not. It wasn't really the point. The point is
No.
that we have customers that have this problem so regularly, where they're just like, I need something to get wires in that's going to make sense, and
Yep.
it's going to be future proofed and scalable, and not cause me to have a major problem on my hands.
Yep. Well, and I think that's a pretty consistent philosophy of anything that we've done. I think anything that when we look at new products for mobilemusthave.com, the first question we ask is this solving a problem for our customers? Whether that's any of the internet stuff we sell with Peplink and all of the different antenna options, or the cable extensions, or the tire pressure monitoring systems, or water filtration, or really anything that we've sold, including now selling Starlink too. I think all of it was to be as convenient as possible and make us a one-stop shop for people that live this lifestyle. So, and I think this fits exactly with that from that standpoint. So good on you
Yeah,
for.
absolutely. That's the goal. I did want to share. My desktop is a hot mess, but let's see.
Can I? Yeah, and
Um,
you should be able to present, right?
let's see if I can. I can probably just. This is probably going to look a little weird because I'll show you the entire screen, but let's see if it works. So I wanted to just give folks the opportunity. Did that come up?
Yeah, there you go.
Okay, cool. So people often ask like how this actually comes together. How do you actually get this thing mounted on a roof and how does it work? Now, my go-to method for doing installations is what you see here. So this has all been prepped and I've built this out, and this is about to be installed. And what essentially I'm doing here is I've installed a piece of 2-inch PVC pipe
Yep.
that I did a whole core drill. I start out with a small 3/8-inch bit. Now, you want to really kind of talk to the RV manufacturer. You want to do a site survey. You want to do an inspection. Probably the single biggest thing you want to make sure you're not going to hit is electrical wires, which is why I use a smaller bit to start, so I can look in and I can feel around and make sure I'm not going to hit a wire bundle. And then air conditioning ducts. And typically, you can kind of just tell based on where your vents are where your AC ducts are going to be. And you don't want to drill through an AC duct because then you're going to be blowing cold air into the ceiling essentially. And if you did
Yep.
hit something like that, you can fix it with certain, basically duct tape. That's what it's for. But that's why it's called duct tape.
Duct
But
with a
there's yeah,
DUCT. Yeah, yeah, that
yeah.
makes sense.
Um, but proper planning is key to making sure you understand where you're going to do a cable entry insert. And almost all RV manufacturers can provide you with schematics of what's going on in your roof, where the wires are, and what's going on. Then through walking on the roof, you can tell where your frame rails are, or basically your studs that are going across to hold the whole roof together. While you're walking, you can sort of tell it. Oh, it's hard here. It's soft here, and they're typically 16 to 20 inches on center, depending on the manufacturer. So, don't drill into an aluminum stud, or that will be really hard to get all the way through, and you will be messing with structural integrity. But assuming you know where you're drilling, we install a 2-inch piece of pipe that goes into the cab. And I secure my 2-inch pipes with just a little bit of hot glue so they don't just drop through the ceiling.
Yep.
And then we install Dicor around the base of it like that, as well as putting a good amount of Dicor on the bottom of the box, as you can see there. And this is really, really what the finished product starts to look like. once you've screwed the box down to the roof. And let me see if I've got, there's an up kind of photo view of what our installations typically look like. This is Mike's installation on his brand new Montana. So what you end up with here is a box that you can open that has a permanent entry point for wires for the future. And
Yep.
if you notice, the pipe is about it's hard to tell here, but it's about an inch up from the roof line. And because there's Dicor all around the bottom of the box, it's completely water sealed. So if for some reason water did get into the box, either from the box seal or from the Icotek, it's going to collect around the box. And
Yep.
the lip of that pipe is going to keep the water, you'd have to have an inch of water in this thing to have it start dropping in. I've never personally seen that happen, as long as folks, follow the instructions and tighten everything down. But this is an installation method that just gives you something that's highly future proof, easy to access, and avoids that sort of shove the wires down the hole and then put the box down, and all the Dicor kind of hits the wires and it just turns into this big, hot, goopy mess. This is a much
Yeah.
cleaner, simpler way to do an install that can get you really, really good results.
That's a great look. And is that are you basically standing on the front edge of the RV there?
This is actually the
Or,
first most back edge. If you look up at the RV directly next to him at the top of this photo, that's
okay,
basically in the same orientation.
got it. Okay, got it.
Now, his particular floor plan has this massive media center cabinet at the back, which was why we mounted this so far back. Not, it's common in fifth wheels to see that a bit more than others. So there's us drilling the core. There's us, building out the Icotek. There's us doing the install. Now, when I cut out for square frames, I use a flush cut tool, or basically, I think oftentimes they're called a multi tool.
Yep.
They basically just vibrate, and they allow you to do some pretty precision, nice work. But if you don't have one of those, a standard drill and a round is a really great option as well.
Okay. Okay. Or if you had a really steady hand, a Dremel tool, or not so much, or I'm just kidding, but
Dremels I've used plenty of times. The problem I have with Dremels is they're gonna melt the plastic.
yep.
So as you're kind of dremeling through, it's basically melting and then almost rehardening behind you. Definitely my go-to tool and choice prior to the flush cut generation coming out in, I don't know, it's probably been 20 years now. It's kind of sad, but the multi-tool, um, that kind of changed the game for the ability to just fastly cut holes that are pretty precise into
Yeah,
these, ABS boxes.
it's a cool use of, I mean, you use it to cut, you can cut pretty much anything with that thing. Don't they use that for cutting like electrical boxes and stuff like that in houses too? I mean, like cutting
I
into
mean,
drywall and
yeah, we
you
do a lot of drywall cutting, my dad and I, with those. They don't really like metal. That's where they start to kind of struggle a little bit. They're really good wood tool. Drywall is basically like, I don't know, it's basically like dust. So it's really
yeah.
mean on blades. You can cut through it fast, but man, it'll dull a blade quick. But it absolutely cut tons of drywall with flush cuts, and it's all dependent on the blade you have. So
Yep.
but for cutting plastic, a standard wood blade goes through it like butter, and it's a great way to to make a fun little project.
Nice. We do have a question from Norris here. He says, what I think what he's trying to ask is what's like what cable size or what entry size would you use for like a standard TV cable coax
So yeah, and he said sat TV. So
or sat TV? Sorry. Yep.
most satellite units are going to use RG6 cable. It's pretty common, which is going to be a 7 millimeter grommet. It's
Okay.
7.12 or something like that, but it works perfectly with a 7 millimeter grommet.
Got it.
If it's an older, cheaper style of cable TV wire that is like pre-installed in your RV, a lot of times the inner wires are what's called RG58. then you're going to drop down to use a 6mm. But most is 7. And I mean, the grommets are not expensive. So, you pick up a 6 and a 7 and check your application. That'd be what I recommend. But if you know the type of cable, those are the 2 most common for TV applications, and those would be the size you want.
Got it. Okay. Very good. And I think that's just another little point I want to highlight there. I think you sort of did it automatically, but if you're between sizes, you sort of want to err to have the opening be a little bit smaller than the cable, so it sort of compresses around it.
Yeah.
Right?
So
because they're soft.
Let me see. We've got a few minutes, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, we got a few minutes. Let me grab a antenna from our friends at Mobile Mark. Haven't talked about Mobile Mark in a while, so grab one of their antennas.
I want to make you thank you back featured presenter here for a bit while you're doing this.
Yeah, so this would be a good example. Let me see if I can get a Grommet that is what you're talking about. So this is going to be, so we'll look at this GPS cable. So this is a 3mm cable. I'm sorry, this is This is a 2.3 or 2.4mm cable. It's like right in between. So if I put a 3 on it, we're going to split this open, pop our cable right through the middle. It's on there.
Yeah.
But what I don't like is this.
Yeah, it's yeah. There's not much grabbing onto it.
And if I give it a squeeze, it's just that's worrisome, right? So
I feel like that's going to become a meme, by the way, whatever you were just doing.
Whatever I just did. Yeah, probably, right? Everybody likes I gotta get some glasses, Dave. This is I'm getting old. It's like
Eric,
2mm.
I'm wearing them. Welcome to the club, man. It's not. It was a very brutal moment when I realized I needed glasses.
Yeah. Oh, I've known. I just got to go get the appointment going. So then let's do a 2mm. So we're gonna go down one. Really? Where did I put the 2s? Here's the 2. This is our backup inventory. I just keep for our installs. Now, a 2 looks almost identical. It's like kind of the same exact thing. But if you look closely inside there, you'll notice that there's a small bit of I don't know the word. I want to say it's flanged, but I don't think that's the right word. But they're coping or something like that. But it's curved in towards the hole.
Yeah,
and
bevel.
that allows the grommet to be somewhat flexible based on the size of the wire. When you get into some of these smaller applications, you have a little bit more flex. So when I close the 2 over the 2.3, I get a nice tight fitting.
There you go.
I'm not seeing anything. I don't see any light coming through there. Obviously there is if I leave it uncompressed, but when you go ahead and screw the thing down, you get a nice tight fitting.
It seals itself. Yep.
Right, and the housing is really designed to hold all 4 sides of this and just tighten it right up and give you a nice tight fitting.
Perfect.
So
perfect.
Yeah, you don't want the wire sliding in there. Now, I had wire sliding in one for the better part of 8 months because I just was lazy and didn't order the right ones, and I didn't get any water in. It's like water is not. It's unless it's like coming at you sideways on the roof, like which wouldn't happen if you were driving fast.
And you had it facing the front,
and you had it face forward. But yeah, when we're talking to customers, I like to kind of err on the side of worst case scenario. Some folks do some crazy stuff. You Alaska trippers. But absolutely, it's been a product that I think just solves a really, really cool problem that we've all had for a really long time, which is how do we get a lot of cables in from the roof and do it in a way that's modular, repeatable, and scalable. Something that we can just update over time and not feel like we have to do it over again. And we've had people, if I'm going to sell my RV, I don't want to put all this stuff in. I want to take it when I leave. Icotek's the perfect thing to think about when you do that. So you want to take your roof antenna with you. That box I just showed you, that's a selling point for the buyer. You say, I've got this box up here. Anything you want to add solar, you want to add this, you want to do this. Here's your main entry point. It's completely modular. And then you load up the Icotek with 4 blanks. You take all of your expensive gear with you and you sell the RV, and you go off and you buy one more Icotek housing. They're not that expensive, and you can repeat it on your next RV. And it's, instead of the goopy pre-installed roof antenna that someone's trying to
Yep. Yeah, or the person that buys the antenna, glues everything permanently to the RV, and then tries to take it with you and leaves a crater on the roof, which with some duct
like
tape over
a
the top.
TPO rubber roof. Like if you adhesive something down to that, when you try to take it off, it's gonna rip the roof off with it. So yes, you can roll a new roof with, you literally just roll rubber on. But it's, there's easier ways, in my opinion.
Yeah, no, I could see that. Well, very cool stuff. It doesn't seem like this is a topic that's going to have a ton of questions, because I think it's pretty self-explanatory. But
Norris's comment about my glasses is making me fall over laughing. I just read that.
Smaller print, lower the floor. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Totally agree with that. Already experiencing that, not happy about it most of the time.
My inventory team could not have made that print any smaller. It's like a 0.1 font. I mean, it's even that camera can't see it.
Yeah.
But the bags are small, so I guess they needed to use tiny labels.
And your iPhone camera can read the QR code, so that's all that matters.
Exactly. So. I'm like, when in doubt, magnify out. Wow.
Yeah.
This is payback for all those months of making fun of my dad, huh? He's got the last laugh now.
Of course. Well, cool. Well, thank you for the demo. I think that's a very cool product. I know you're really excited about it, and I can see why. It's exactly what we needed to solve that kind of problem for our customers. So I think it's going to be good.
We are excited, and if anyone has any questions, as always, you can reach out to us at info@mobilemusthave.com, or start up you can schedule a chat in the bottom right hand corner. You don't have to schedule at all, or you can schedule a consultation at talk.mobilemusthave.com, which is where we're always available.
Yeah. And lastly, just to highlight it once again, because I got away with setting it up, Icotek 20 to save 20% off all Icotek products for the next 24 hours. And other than that, we will say thank you so much, and we will see you next week when we're gonna interview Andy, I think, to get a feel for what it's like to live on the road with your family.
Yeah. So. Hopefully he's bringing them. That should be a little bit of a.
He doesn't know we're gonna do that, but I'm gonna pitch it to him tomorrow when we have lunch. So
yeah. So three kids, dog, cat, husband, wife, I think that's the rollout. It's a full house. Should make a TV show.
The Wild Bunch. Or where the wild things from, or something like that.
Yeah, where the wild ones from.
Yeah. Yep.
Our
very cool.
Third or fourth official customer.
Third employee.
Yeah. Hey, you seem to know a lot about this. You want to work here?
Yeah, I think that's kind of how we found him on YouTube. So I love that. Yeah. Cool. Well, thank you again for stopping back and hanging out with us for the hour, and we will see you all next week. We will also detail all of the rest of this into a blog post that we'll put on our website probably tomorrow. If anything went by a little too quick for anyone, along with better copies of those pictures. So
yeah, and I've got I always like to throw some kind of weird little Easter egg in. Here's a fun one. This is a prototype I'm working on right now, which is this is just a prototype, but this is a roof-mounted box that you can see there with a peplink in it. And the concept here is this
ceiling mounted,
with,
right?
yeah, actually, this is a pretty crappy prototype. Let me show you a better prototype. This one's got the nice fancy fan bars on it and good screws and everything. So this ceiling mounts and allows you to take a peplink and mount it up if you have a pre-installed antenna in your RV that has cellular up on the roof. And those are pre-wired, so they've got 12-volt power and a roof antenna on a lot of RVs. So we've had this request coming in a lot. Can you install? Can we put a peplink in and use that factory antenna? And the answer, hopefully very soon, will be yes. So if you're interested in being a beta customer for something like that, we'd obviously have to validate that you have an antenna that will work up there, which is not hard to do. But we are looking for folks that want to participate in that little beta test.
Very cool. Yeah, that is our Easter egg of the week. I think that's going to become a feature set for any time you're on this this show for sure.
That's what I'll try. And don't worry, you don't have to buy it in orange. We just our test prototypes are orange. Some people might like orange.
Hey, accent color goes well.
Yeah.
With other certain colors. I like it.
Orange box on your roof, on your ceiling. It's up to you. No, I think the default will be white. So, but we've been testing that and it's been great. So, more to come.
Very cool. Well, thanks again, and thank you everyone that tuned in. We really do appreciate it, and we will see you next week, same time, same place on YouTube and Facebook. So, thank you all very much, and we'll see you soon.